Hi, and thank you for stopping by my poster. We're interested in the following questions. Are the features of objects that are within the focus of attention automatically accessed and thus subsequently reportable? And what information should be accessed and reported of an object such that we can say that that object was consciously perceived? We start with attribute amnesia, which describes memory failure for letter identity in an experiment in which subjects found a letter amongst numbers and reported the letter color. When surprised with the question, what was the letter that you just got the color of, most participants were not able to answer. This is how the experiment went. They saw a display like this with 3 numbers and 1 letter. They reported the color of the letter for the first 11 trials. On the 12th trial, they got a surprise question. What was the letter you just saw? Here they reported the color and the identity of the letter, and they did so again for 4 controlled trials. In the original study, only 40% of subjects were able to pick the correct letter from a choice of 4 letters. However, performance rose significantly once asked the identity question again in the next controlled trial, suggesting that once they were expecting the question, they had no problem answering it. The inability to retain letter identity unless they're expecting the question is thought to be a failure of consolidation of that information. We think it's actually a failure of encoding, and we tested this by comparing the original experiment to one in which the target is identified by being in one half of the alphabet. We tend to assume that to consciously apprehend a letter, you must encode its identity. All the details of a stimulus get accessed and encoded when that stimulus is consciously apprehended. However, previous work shows that letter category can be activated independently of identity information of that letter. Perhaps only the fact that Z is a letter gets encoded when the identity information is not necessary for subjects to process. Depending on task conditions, a letter such as Z could be encoded in multiple ways, including as letter only. Encoding is not necessarily all or none. In contrast, recognition of half of the alphabet is not so automatic, and identity will be required and therefore encoded. We found attribute amnesia when the target was letters among number distractors, but when the target was identified by which half of the alphabet it's in, there was no amnesia for target identity at all. This suggests that letter identity was reliably remembered when it was required to be encoded in order to make the target identification in the first half, second half condition. So far we saw that encoding failures could be the source of attribute amnesia. Now we further investigate that idea in the context of a classic example of memory failure, poor memory for the US penny. We ran a study in which subjects indicated which side the penny was on compared with other real coins in experiment 1A, or experiment 1B in which 50% of foils were fake pennies. After 12 trials, they received a surprise question asking them which penny is real from among a real penny and a fake penny. After another 12 penny location trials, they get another surprise question, again with a real and fake penny, but this time a different fake penny. When the foils were all real coins, participants performed poorly on the surprise trials relative to their performance on the location trials. They were not reliably able to indicate the real penny despite accessing its location dozens of times, even on the second surprise question, after already being surprised with the question which would have prompted them to pay closer attention. However, when foils include fake pennies, the drop in performance between the pre-trials, which were the location trials, and the surprise trial disappears, and we see no amnesia for penny details. Participants are reliably able to identify the real penny compared with performance on the pre-surprise location trials. We traditionally think that objects, once consciously attended to, are encoded as bound units into memory. However, what we show with these experiments is that objects are not actually encoded into memory in their entirety. They are encoded at different levels of abstraction or specificity, depending on the task demands. Memory failures are often taken to involve either forgetting or not consolidating information into memory. However, the studies here suggest that we should also look at failures of encoding as a possible source of memory error. Thank you very much for your attention. If you want to discuss this more, or if you have any questions, please contact me at mgallen@ucsd.edu. Thanks and enjoy the conference.